This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Biotropic Labs. Biotropic Labs is a company that makes its own natural and healthy custom formulated sports supplements. I tried them out. Paul has also tried them. We both like how we feel on them. It dramatically and positively improved our performance, allowing us to train and work out at a much higher level and with much more endurance. His products are built around a blood support and oxygen delivery. To learn more about their products, please visit them on the web at biotropiclabs.com. At checkout, use the promo code UNION10 to receive 10% off your order. Your order is also backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, zero-risk purchase. Again, that's biotropiclabs.com. Use the promo code UNION10 at checkout to receive 10% off your entire order.
This episode of the Grappler Union podcast is brought to you by BJJTees. Go to bjjtees.com, enter the promo code Grappler Union, and save 10% off all your jiu-jitsu apparel. Go to bjjtees.com today.
This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Strychnine Jiu-Jitsu, makers of vintage-inspired tees, hoodies, and rash guards. Go to strychnine.co, that's STRYCH9.co, and use the promo code UNION at checkout to receive 20% off your online order.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Grappler Union Podcast. Paul Maloney alongside Anthony Zito. On this episode, we have Sean Burke in studio. Sean's a second-degree Alliance black belt, and he's a two-time Master World Champion. Enjoy.
I need the 6 minutes. That's what happens in that 6 minutes.
You taught me using any technique that works. Never to limit myself to one style. Keep an open mind.
We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
In order to become more peaceful, in order for you to become better and strategize your life.
Okay, we're live.
Sean Burke, welcome.
Thank you for having me, guys.
We are excited to have somebody from Alliance in the studio.
Yeah.
I reached out to a couple of your guys. I reached out to Jason Sullins,
Okay.
who I guess doesn't use Messenger, Facebook Messenger,
Or does use it and hasn't seen your request.
Right. I think that. Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. Yeah, when you've got your own school, you get a lot of requests from people, and it's usually to sell you things. So
is that right?
Yeah. So that's probably why. And
you know that from experience.
I know that from experience. I still get stuff from people offering me great deals on gis.
Breakpoint hit you up?
No, Breakpoint. Not Nick. No, not Nick. He hit me up early and worked out well for a long time. No, but actually, I was thinking on the way over here. I mean, Jason would be a great guy for you guys to talk to because, he's another one of these early people in jiu-jitsu here in Chicago. Back in the day when, there wasn't really much of anything going on here. I mean, people just knew they wanted to do it from the original UFC, and
Right.
The reality was there really wasn't a lot of places to go. It's to say there wasn't a lot of places. There were no places to go essentially. You really had Carlson Jr. downtown, who was the only black belt probably in the whole. Any state that wasn't on a coast, he was probably the guy, and that was really it. And he had, so that's perspective is like that's the only black belt, and then for a while, I started in '97. It was for a while, probably 3 years or so. First 3 years I started, like blue belts were like unicorn sightings. It was just like, oh my god,
really?
Somebody's got a blue belt, man! Wow. And there were and you knew who they were. Like you knew who the guys with the blue belts were. It was like a Jeff Kerr and a Jeff Neal. It was the people who started it really early. So completely different world.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Alliance. When did you hook up with Alliance?
Well, actually two different ways. So I used to travel a lot for my job, my day job, and I'd go to Atlanta a lot. And I started training with Professor Jacare Cavalcante down there, like 2002-ish, something like that, 2003, right in that area. And and I trained at places all over the U.S. because I traveled all over the place. And I have to say, Jacare was a guy who, he brought me in. He always treated me like I was his brother. I mean, it was really, really good, and it was always obviously top level training there, and so I always felt welcome when I was there, and I always, I was kind of like, man, I wish I was, part of Alliance. Of course, I wasn't at the time.
Who were you with at the time?
I was under Pedro Carvalho. Okay. So, that's where my original rank came from, Pedro.
And then you started training out here, then, right?
I was out. Well, I always was out here.
Okay.
I went and sought out Pedro in California back when I started my school in 2001, and trained with him there. And then he eventually moved to Florida, and I trained with him there too. But Jacare, fantastic. So that was kind of my Alliance connection for a long time. Was that. So I had my school, Force Jiu-Jitsu in Burr Ridge, for about 14 years. And
what was it called?
Force.
Okay.
Yeah, Force Jiu-Jitsu. And
Burr Ridge, that's a good spot, right?
Yeah, well, it was a good spot. It was in a commercial area there, not by the $1 billion houses or anything like
exactly.
that. But
there's some big houses in Burr Ridge.
Right, yeah. Not many of those people did jiu-jitsu, though.
No, huh?
No.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, I drew
they
people
would
from
need it.
Yeah, right. Drew people from all over, and that was a great experience. For me, in a lot of different ways, but I decided to close my school now about 2 or 3 years ago now, and then obviously looking for a place to go. Alliance was a natural fit, and it was close. Yeah. And so I'd always known of Jason Sullins by reputation, which was totally top reputation guy, and then Isaac Riggs is another long time jiu-jitsu guy who teaches up in Sean Burke too. And he and Isaac had actually trained under Jacare Cavalcante for a bunch of years too. So it was just it was a natural fit.
Who's Jason under?
Jason originally started with at Carlson's.
Okay.
And then just ended up kind of going on his own.
Yeah.
And so. But now he's Alliance. He just got his third degree from Jacare. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So you were in business for 14 years, and then what was the reason for?
It's just a lot of. I'd tell you it's a lot of reasons. I mean, part of it was I have a daytime career, like a full-time daytime career, running a school, and then I had two boys who were. I mean, even at the time it closed, they were a little bit older, but then throw in trying to have a personal life
for sure
on top of it, and I had about a 35-minute drive back and forth to school. It's just a lot.
You're spread so thin.
Yeah, it's just a lot. And
I mean, I see guys doing that now that are just, they don't own a school, they just work a day job, have a family, try to get some training in, and then also have somewhat of a personal life, and they don't even own a gym.
Right.
That's
right.
10 times more.
Yeah, it's just hard. And then we could go down that rabbit hole, but then you have the whole, when you run a school, it's the things you come across, the people, the things that happen in schools, it's just,
you're a babysitter.
You're a babysitter, but sometimes, like I said, I traveled, so I had people who taught for me, and it would, I'd come back and say, people say, "Oh man, let me tell you what happened while you were gone." Just nutty things. And
any good stories?
Yeah, I got a couple of good stories there. So yeah, everything from I don't know if you guys are familiar with Fallon Fox.
Yeah.
You remember her? Yeah.
Sure.
So she trained at Force for, I don't know, maybe a year, maybe a little bit
You know
less.
who that is, right, Paul?
I don't.
Fallon Fox was a male, became a female MMA fighter.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Rogan talks about her.
Yeah, all the time, right?
Yeah. So we really didn't know, this was pre, per blowing up all over the place. But we kind of did, you know what I mean?
Right,
but
right.
it's, you know how it is in a school. You just, you don't ask a lot of questions with different things. But
so the transition was male to female.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. But
So he or she would get fights in MMA organizations,
Right.
and knock out women.
Right.
because she was kind of jacked.
built
yeah.
like a man.
Yeah.
Got testosterone. Whether I don't know,
that
all the
bone
medical-
structure and
bone
everything.
structure, all
Yeah.
that stuff. So, and I guess it wasn't disclosed when she would take these fights with other women. Other women were like, oh, she's a girl, and then they go get knocked the fuck out.
Right.
And it's like, holy shit, she got hit by a man.
Right.
So I think she did lose though.
Yeah, she
recently.
did.
Yeah,
She got whipped up
Yeah.
bad. I think it was the one was it was like a judo girl or whatever. But it's two stories there. One was I would just have no gi and gi, and so we had a rule in gi where white belts couldn't do leg locks, couldn't get the leg lock, but in no gi it was just everybody could do leg locks and stuff because that was taught as a part of the curriculum, how to defend, how to do them. And so I had a guy whose nickname was Toothless Mike, who you might imagine was missing some teeth, and or actually, yeah, I mixed them all up because we had Toothless Mike, Hillbilly Mike, and Marijuana Mike.
Okay.
This is all in Burr Ridge?
This is all in, oh, dude, it gets so deep. So Toothless Mike, before we start he's training for a while in no gi and doing leg locks, and so we have like sometimes like a no gi class and then a gi class, and he's like, man, he goes, I want to do leg locks. I want to do leg locks in gi. I'm okay with it and stuff. And I said, all right, well, we start class to tell everybody, hey, he's open to him, but he might leg lock you too. So literally his first round, he rolls with Fallon Fox, and she heel hooks him and blows his knee out.
Oh shit!
Jesus.
And never saw Toothless Mike again. He had been training for a while, but that was it. That was it. Never saw him again. And then Fallon's last appearance at Force Jiu-Jitsu was she was sparring with a guy who was actually one of my earliest students. His name was Brian. And Brian, he was like a thin guy, quiet, and just annoying to roll with. But not in a bad way. He wasn't the kind of guy who's kneeing you in the face or getting elbows or putting his toe in your eye or anything like that. He was just like it's like you almost like couldn't get your hands on him and stuff. I mean, he's just annoying to like. You get frustrated sometimes rolling with the guy, and apparently she got frustrated rolling with him too. So they end the round, and she ends up punching him in the face.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So Dave Herman, who was this again, I was not there, but this is Dave Herman who was teaching for me. He kicked her out, and she never came back.
Wow.
Yeah. And actually in the sideline, I think actually Brian that wasn't the only time he's been punched at the end of a round.
He must be real annoying to roll with. Holy shit. Damn. Well, you know what they say, when the cat's away, the mice will play.
Yeah.
I
guess. I mean, I wish I would have seen it. I should have had the cameras in the class.
That's what you should have.
Yeah.
We have them in our gym.
Yeah.
We'll hear Andre yell in the cameras because I guess it's got a
Andre will be out of town watching us on the cameras and
then
yelling to us through a speakerphone.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Funny.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, just end up in that I would say that gray area of then there's some things that you don't want to have recorded just for legal purposes, let's say, that's just open to everybody's interpretation of, well, how did that neck get broken or whatever.
Right.
How did that neck get broken?
Oh, it's funny.
Ever have a broken neck in your gym?
No. So, but speaking of broken neck stories, I got a couple for you there too. So Isaac Riggs, who teaches up in Sean Burke, and this is a secondhand story, but when I've heard related with him, he broke his neck in a car crash and came back, and he actually had on the freaking halo on his head, and he was sparring.
What?
Yeah, Isaac's pretty hardcore dude, man. Damn. Pretty hardcore dude. Yeah.
Would it be if you're in this halo brace, right?
Yeah.
You're not moving like you normally could.
Yeah.
So you're basically
just your head, I guess.
But you're not slipping punches.
No.
You're taking them, man.
Yeah. Well, it was jiu-jitsu. So
he was doing it in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he was doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
Got to have a lot of top game.
Right.
And some knee riding.
Oh my God.
You just described him to a T.
Yeah.
He is and nicest guy in the world. He'll smile at you the entire round, but literally the most painful jiu-jitsu you will ever experience, and him smiling all the while. while he's executing his jujitsu.
No shit.
Oh, man, it's
Yeah.
a pain. Look at this thing I got.
What do you got?
Look at that.
Wow, nice bruise.
Nice one.
Yeah, it's all bubbled up.
How'd you get that?
I don't know. I was rolling yesterday and saw it, and I'm like, damn, that really sucks.
Yeah, that's always the kind of the
Because I was
mysterious.
defending and for the knee slide there.
Yeah.
And just fucking someone either kneed me or I was pushing really hard on it or it happens.
Burr Ridge is a pretty like affluent neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder what the consensus is for gyms in affluent neighborhoods. I mean, like that the community has the money to send the child to the gym, but it's also, it's a consensus that like, richer kids are softer and they probably don't want to fight.
Right.
So how does it work, I wonder?
So my experience was I didn't teach kids for years. Like didn't even do it because I had a fundamental kind of like just problem thinking about, do I want to teach kids how to choke each other and break arms? Like just
First of all, do you have the patience for it?
and that's bingo. That's the other big thing. And so, but I mean, I eventually started teaching kids, and I think the problem was, at least the way that I ran my school was, jiu-jitsu is not a belt factory. It's not, you come to class 5 times, you get a stripe, or, you're going to get, there's 14 belts, and, it's like, traditional martial arts school. And I think that's what a lot of parents, those are the pictures they want. They want the board breaking, they want the kata form things and everything, and then they just see, kids rolling around. And to your point, I think parents with money too see their kids are getting like manhandled. It's not, it's just not anything good comes out of that in terms of building business.
Right.
So, and I know there's a whole offshoot in jiu-jitsu right now where there's curriculums that teach kids, and you keep the sparring maybe as a separate thing, and the submissions are something that's a little less emphasized. But I just didn't do it. So
yeah, and I'm especially 15 years ago or whatever. Now you're getting the parents in that are 40 years old, and they're bringing their 8-year-old in, and they know about the UFC, and they saw it, and they have a better understanding what jiu-jitsu is.
Yeah, but that's the normal. But I think the Burr Ridge community.
Yeah.
I have some clients in Burr Ridge, and they're different. Like Hinsdale, they're a different type of breed.
Right.
They kind of grew up in a little bit of a bubble.
Yeah.
They're in that bubble, and they don't really wander out too much.
right. Yeah, and when I did start teaching kids, I would get these inquiries from kind of like overzealous dads, like, I got, I'd like to get my son in this, and it's like, well, how old is he? He's like, oh, he's 3.5. No,
Yeah.
I mean, to your point
So you
about
think my
patience,
gym's
like
a
you can't,
daycare, right?
I had a 3.5-year-old, can't teach him anything,
Right.
So, like, what are you going to do? And so. Yeah. And then, the other side of it was virtually all of my students were from everywhere but Burr Ridge and Hinsdale. Jiu-jitsu is hard. It's hard. I mean, the attrition rate is, what I saw was probably 80-90% in the first couple months when people started sparring, and, it's no fun. I mean, you got to have a certain kind of sickness inside you that keeps you coming. And on the mat, where all you're doing is you come in and you're getting your ass kicked every single class. And, you might learn some cool submissions, but man, you are like light years away from ever doing them in a match. So, I just think even today, that's an attribute that a lot of, particularly younger generation, whatever, may not have.
It's that whole they want it now, and they want that instant gratification.
And easy.
Jiu-jitsu is not instant gratification.
No,
it's not.
No way.
No.
And that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough, I think, for future of jiu-jitsu because of the way the kids are growing up now with that, they post up on Instagram, they get the likes, and they're like, jiu-jitsu is totally old school. Like, you have to put in work to get that result.
Right.
And months and months and months and years and years.
It never stops. It never stops. And to your point, to build onto your point about kind of what jiu-jitsu is, there's what I've noticed over the past few years, there's this disconnect from what was traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I don't mean the way originally Helio and Carlos taught it, but I mean as, kind of the legacy of Jiu-Jitsu, the way schools taught in Brazil over the years, like let's say over the past 30 years. It was hardcore. It was pretty freaking hardcore. And I think that functionalization of learning technique through sparring, and it was just like that's part of class, the same as being, as any other part of class, same as a warm up, same as technique. Sparring is it's part of your learning journey. I see that today. There's a sort of this offshoot with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu where the way people's view of, hey, how do I expand my Jiu-Jitsu business? Meaning, how do I stop 80-90% attrition? Is I take out the sparring part. I make it optional. And now you just learn a technique, and hey, if you want to spar a little bit, you can spar a little bit. It's optional. And
but is it possible to receive a belt when you just do the?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No,
either.
no.
You can't apply it because I can rep a technique, 100 times. Let's just say, let's put a number out there. If I rep, a pass, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you in a live, even if not in a competition, but just in a live roll, there's no way I'm going to do that pass.
Right.
There's no way I'm going to be proficient at it.
Yeah.
So there's that proficiency that when you just do something 10 times, how many times do we rep something in class? Maybe 10 times, do 3 different moves 10 times each, and then we're on to sparring. It's a lot. You got to get.
To me, that's the thing that always differentiated jiu-jitsu from other martial arts was that mandatory sparring thing where it gets to the point where when you're like actually sparring or actually fighting, you're not thinking. You're just all the hours you put on the mat. You just react. It's you. It's just a part of you that if you didn't spend those thousands of hours sparring, like with all different sizes and ages of opponents and from all kinds of different positions, like you never get to that. You're never going to get to that level of proficiency ever. So I see that. I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the future of jiu-jitsu in America, particularly because of that. And I'd say I think Alliance has a beginner curriculum, and I think the way Alliance is doing it makes a lot of sense to me. And so there's a beginner curriculum, and the way it works is you go through a set amount of techniques that are like all different positions, and it's all this stuff kind of flows together before you ever spar. But the idea is it's like, you give people as beginners, you give them a little bit of a fighting chance. Like, so when they get on the mat, they kind of know like what position they're in, what's happening.
Sure.
They're more educated. They're more acclimated to things. And I think that's a better way to go.
I agree with that.
Where then people at least, even if they walk away at that point in time, they have a sense of what jiu-jitsu's about. Right. And they've learned something.
And that's similar to like what Eddie Bravo does with his warm-ups.
Yeah.
Those warm-ups that they do for 10th Planet. It's where it's just getting, it might not be for the super advanced, purple and up level, the warm-ups. I can see that, okay.
Right.
But beginner, white belt, blue belt, just to kind of get your body to move and look at positions
and
transitions in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, I can actually move this way for this transition and get his back there and put my leg there and just kind of get your body moving, as opposed to just like, whatever other, the other thing would be. But, I don't disagree with that. I kind of like that. I like that idea. It's good for the beginners. I like that.
Right. Well, I think it's the best of both worlds where you do take care of the business side, but while not compromising the kind of the core of jiu-jitsu. Right. And and I think ultimately it'll lead to better jiu-jitsu practitioners because then everybody started with like they all know the same basic techniques. Right. Where that varies today in every school. What people may learn based on when they came in to class, even if there's a beginner class, like they may miss techniques or just fundamental kind of things that you really need to just build on.
To build on, exactly.
Yeah.
That's very important to build. And that's what I've noticed, meeting a lot of guests and going to their gyms and seeing different types of like instruction, it's important to have that that building. There's instructors out there that don't really piece things together properly,
right?
And then you have those instructors that can really set a curriculum, and you're like, oh, now the lights click on, everything's clicking on. You're like, oh, that makes so much sense, just because of the way they taught it, and you adapt to it a lot better,
right?
You as the person learning, you're like, I see, as opposed to being a little bit foggy.
Mm-hmm.
I can see some people come in, and they're like, they don't really know what's going on, but that good instruction can really kind of set them like, oh, okay, well, that makes total sense. All right. Even though they can't apply it in a role.
Right.
But at least the instruction makes sense to them.
Sure. Right. Yeah. Right. Or they understand the concept behind it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. But then, too, if I look at jiu-jitsu where it was years ago, I mean, there was no YouTube. There were some instructionals, but they were really few and far between. And so everybody was like this hunger for techniques, like, because you just knew like there has to be other stuff out there other than scissor sweep and arm bar and triangle, right. and half guard was just considered like a stuck position. And but there was nothing out there, and so you essentially just had a bunch of people like killing each other with the same techniques. I mean, when I first started, it was like organized riot, and actually organized only in the sense that there was
You're all wearing white.
We were all wearing white, and because nobody made blue gis then, but at least there was a time limit where you knew things would stop. But I remember like class 1, you walk in, learned probably like scissor sweep, and then we're sparring, and just like people just like me, I don't know anything. Like when now we're sparring, I could choke you, right. And I ended up going home and I had like fingerprint bruises around my throat and my face, and black eyes, and you have because gis were crap then. You'd have like these gis like ripped off you. No gi, you would wear the crappiest t-shirts you had because they would literally they would be torn from your body. Right. You have like the Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon claw marks across your chest. It was nuts, and part of it was there wasn't a progression because everybody had like the same half dozen techniques. Yeah. So
there's no one there to elevate.
No, nobody there to elevate. At least where I was at, and then you get stuck then. And if you find a couple things that work for you, just like I'm going to do those. I'm pushing these 2 buttons all the time.
That's super important. That elevation, that having that high level person, in the room with you, that's learning constantly, and her hat comes from a huge background of knowledge that can just keep elevating that room. And they're training, you're not going to keep up with them, and then those training partners elevate you. It's a real thing, and I've seen it so many times in gyms.
Right.
That elevation is so real.
Yeah.
And it's sad if you get stuck in a place where it's like nothing's moving, you could peek out.
Right.
And it's super important.
Well, like you were saying, Sean, like back in the day, a blue belt was like a unicorn.
Exactly.
Right.
So, you basically started off with a gym full of white belts, essentially, right? And we've all seen white belts fight. I mean, it's a fucking mess. It is a riot.
Right. And it was. And, I'll say, kind of building on this point is, it took me a long time to kind of understand what sparring was meant to be in terms of like a jiu-jitsu learning journey, and it wasn't to be competitive. It wasn't like a stunting kind of a thing, and I always taught it, and I still try to mentor students I see today that sparring is just another method of learning, and you have to take your ego out of it. So if you want to progress your game, you have take your ego, like I'm going to win or lose, take that out of it, and pick on the things that you want to get better at. And it could be a weakness. It could just be, I want to be better at passing spider guard. And so you're going to put yourself in a position every round to get in spider guard. You're going to fight the people who do spider guard, right. and you're going to work your technique. sometimes good's going to come out of that. Sometimes bad's going to come out of it. Sometimes nothing's going to come out of it. But you're eventually going to learn that position. But so you look at it as it's a learning tool. It's not a it's not just something you do to. We all love sparring. We all love the competitive part of it. You all you like that, but you have to use it as a learning tool because I think if you elevate your mindset, you're just going to elevate your game over time. I mean, for me, it was probably when I was a blue belt. I just decided like I was going to just focus on passing guard. I was going to get good at passing guard. Right. And so every round I made people I forced them to pull guard. And I started to figure things out, started to figure out how to pass. And I got pretty good at passing. And then just you go back, find, where's another hole? And, start working on that. And it's never ending. I mean, to this day, for myself, I always get on the mat. And I've always got a position or a couple of things I want to try to build on. And if you have the mindset okay, well, I want to work this half guard sweep today, and then there's this submission from top cross side. I want to try to work on that one too. And then I saw this cool bottom cross side escape. Those are 3 things I'm going to work on today. Forget it. It's
too much.
It's too much.
Right.
Pick one, just work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instagram's warping everyone, I think.
Yeah.
I think, how many times have you gone on Instagram and in just one scroll session, 5-minute scroll session, how many videos do you save?
A lot.
5 or 6,
lot.
right? You're never going to go back to them.
And honestly, I was just thinking that today.
You got 200 in there and you've never gone back.
Never gone back to them.
Right. Because
I see them on
it's
save
always the next thing.
There, right.
And it's always the next thing. It's
right.
always oh, here's another one. And another,
Never. And even same with on Facebook too. I do the same thing. I'll save the video. I never go back.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, again, from an instructor perspective, students are just they're technique hogs. What's the next technique? What's the next technique? And the kind of the litmus test for that would be okay, what was it? What was this technique I taught 2 weeks ago?
Right.
Let's see it.
Right.
Let's see you do it.
Right.
And people will be like, oh,
something here or there.
I forgot. Yeah, does my hand go here?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need more techniques.
No.
You need you need to learn techniques and learn them well. So you need to spend a little bit of time on them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the repetition is a real thing.
Yeah, drilling.
You got to drill it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so cool to watch Jean-Jacques Machado do his technique. It's that's fucking awesome. He makes it look so easy.
Right.
And you're I could do that. And
Right.
no fucking way.
Right.
You're not doing that. No way.
I mean, a lot of them are,
Yeah, I know.
kind of bullshit. I've never seen that happen in a match before. So,
Right. But it's cool how he puts
it
that
is cool. I mean, it's it's meant to be
Yeah.
kind of salacious, I suppose.
Exactly.
As far as
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you're you see the one where he's he sweeps the guy over and then rolls him out like a yo-yo and then pulls him right back into an armbar and you're what? Come on,
Yeah.
It's maybe you could do that to white belt, but I enjoy the videos. I like them. You know what I mean?
Sure, it's a showcase for jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the show the art ones are nice too.
Yeah.
They'll do some high level people on there doing some cool stuff. I mean, Hodger Grace, they all have their own stuff that they show, and it's cool. Just sit there and hopefully what it really does at the end of the day is get people interested in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
If it's salacious, fantastic. If it gets someone in the door that wants to do it and wants to learn it, that's awesome.
Right.
That's the goal, really.
Right.
I mean, are we going to sit there and look at it and start repping technique, like that? Yeah. Probably not.
No.
But it's going to get people in the door.
The door, exactly. But then
Yeah.
going back to what Sean was saying, he's worried about, the future of jiu-jitsu in America. So, I mean, what do you think, Sean? What can be done about it? You think Americans are just becoming more pussified by the day?
No. There's that. So I'll say it's there's good news, bad news. The good news is Americans are getting really good at jiu-jitsu. I mean, they're taking it to the next level in a lot of different ways. I think first just the gene pool in America is kind of this. I don't know, hybrid of the world. You start with that, and then you have people who are just open minds about doing a lot of different, incorporating a lot of different martial arts, anything that will give them a competitive edge, whether it's judo, whether it's sambo, whether it's the kind of stuff that Eddie Bravo's done, like the traditional wrestling, catch wrestling, anything like that they can bring in to make the art better. And I don't necessarily think that that same open mindset comes from, from Brazil or, maybe even other parts of the world. So, I think on that side of it, I think from a competitive perspective, Americans are really, we've embraced the art and pushing it forward. When you look at all these American competitors that are really at the top of their game. And then you've got this other part, which is, really the state of the art. Like like where if you had someone who came from a school where they didn't really spar, but they learned the techniques and everything else, I look at it like, well, your rank is not the same as my rank.
Right.
When you're, I guess from the other perspective, if I was that person, I'd say, "Oh no, yeah, it is, but I don't want to spar you,
right?
So I don't know. That's
take
the part,
my word for it. Just take my word for it. I know it.
Right, and that's the part I worry about. And there's no doubt about it. America's like pussified. Everybody's triggered. That's an ongoing joke, even on the mat all the time. I've just been I've just been triggered. Like, no, it was a submission, man.
Yeah. Oh, I never heard that.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Millennials, huh?
Yeah.
The millennials. So when did that start? What year is the millennial? Is it 95 and up?
Yeah,
Is
95, 96.
90s,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, something like that. So but then again, I know millennials that are on the mat. They're that are gritty as hell. That and even if you look like back just a couple of generations, you had generations of kids who were never even in a fight because everything was mediated out and everything like that. I grew up in the south side of Chicago. It was like, you're going to fight every single day, and half the time is with your friends.
Yeah.
So it's a whole foreign concept there. But I think in a jiu-jitsu perspective, that this just goes to my view of rank and kind of how I ran things. I always look at white belt as the belt of survival. Like, you're on the mat for, 2 years and you're essentially, your journey is misery.
Yeah.
It's, people on top of your head. It's fluorescent lights in your eyes. It's, it's
You're the butt of the joke in the gym.
Right.
Yeah.
But the idea is in that journey, by the time that journey comes to its closure with a blue belt, you've gotten pretty good at defending at least all the easy stuff, and you get better at not getting completely stuck. And every once in a while you have your moments, even if it's short-lived, of, being on top or whatever it is.
But it's just enough to get you to come back the next day.
Right, it's exactly. It's just that one little thing, like life has sucked for so long, but today I was on top for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But it like, to me, it builds that core of knowing, like, what, if I could survive this, right, I could survive anything. It really builds that. It really builds that grit. For me personally, I can remember just being in miserable places with people on top of me, and just where you want to, you just want to tap because it's just miserable, not because anything's going to break or you're going to choke. Right. It's so miserable. You want to tap, but your pride is like, no, man, I am not going to do that. And so you have to develop your own coping mechanisms. And mine always was count to 10. Count to 10 and like count to 10 again, like, so eventually is going to stop. But it helps. It really helps build that perseverance. So one of the traditions I had at my school was for the people who would get promoted to blue belt, we would have that promotion, announce it way ahead of time. Not necessarily who was going to be promoted, but that we would have a blue belt promotion that was usually followed by we would grill food with beer and stuff like that afterwards, and with an open mat, or order food in. But we'd try to get as many people from the school there as possible. Sure. And then, so the people who would be promoted, they had to fight everybody in the school. Everybody would line up by rank. They had to start at white belt, and 3 minutes with every single person in the school.
That's cool.
And because what's the belt of survival, man? Like, you're going to survive, and it was miserable for guys that did it and went through it. But I would tell you, if you asked any of them who got a blue belt from me, they'll remember it. They'll remember it like it was yesterday. They'll remember, who was a dick to them during the rounds and all those kind of things. But I think they wear it as a badge of honor that they went through that.
I mean, that beats getting beat with belts for sure.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Did you do that? The beating with the belts?
Evolution, we do now.
You
I
do?
think that. Yeah, I think that. I don't know. We'll see where that goes. I don't know if that's a big alliance thing anymore, but. Yeah, I mean, at Pedro's, he didn't do the belt beating thing.
How bad does that hurt? Have you ever been whacked with a belt?
No, I have not.
It sounds like it hurts.
It
man.
looks like it's yeah.
It doesn't sound good.
No.
I mean, it's a fucking belt, man.
Well, especially if you take your jacket off.
They take your jacket off, too.
Yeah.
They come down the line with the
Oh, for sure.
Without the jacket.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
Fuck that.
You got it.
Without the jacket.
But you've like with the towel, it's that whipping motion that
Yeah.
really gets you. But if you were to just crack someone with the towel, that wouldn't hurt.
I don't know. Should we do like a little video of you getting whipped by a belt?
No, of you.
Oh.
I should,
Right.
We're gonna switch off. I
Right,
did the last
exactly.
video, yeah.
That's the best way to do it. I mean, that's what I've seen with that is like people who remember, like, oh man, I remember when you walked by me, like,
Right.
like when I walked by you and you freaking hit me. And so now that same person's walking up. These guys
Like, that's a thing. Like when someone walks up behind you and like just smacks
And
you on
then
the
some
back.
guys like knot the end of it too. They like
Yeah.
tie a knot in the end of it.
think that would hurt
Yeah,
less.
we didn't allow not. Yeah, it wasn't
No
like
nodding.
prison rules. It's,
Yeah, as long as there's no soap bar in that.
right, so, right.
But when people like walk up to you and like smack you on the back, for some reason that enrages me.
It's called a 5-star.
I can't. I'm like, why the hell did you?
Dude,
I used to have
about-
a client that like just that's what he would do, like come back behind and smack me. I was like, "Fuck, are you hitting me so hard in the back?" It's odd. It's like a weird like thing to like do to somebody. It's like,
Yeah. What about the dickhead who goes by and flicks you in the ear when it's really cold out?
Right.
Yeah. What about that
We'd
guy?
put that one on the list.
Right.
Yeah.
That didn't fly on the south side, did it, Sean?
No, it was actually it'd be more. It would probably been like more like a punch in the ear, box in the ear,
Yeah, right.
flick in the ear. Like that didn't happen.
so many weird things that people do, like just to like lick their finger,
Yeah,
put it in your ear.
yeah,
whatever
the
they
wet
call it.
willy.
It's so
Yeah.
odd, right? It's
Yeah.
a weird thing.
Yeah.
That's a gross one.
That is really
Yeah.
weird.
No.
Why would they want to
I
do
was
that?
going to lick it after they take it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be even weirder.
I mean, that'd be a cool way to like fuck with white belts. You know what I mean?
What? Like-
Establish like, I don't know, top crucifix control, and then just give
Wet
him a
willy.
wet willy. You know,
Right. Well, Eric
He
Paulson.
tapped to a wet willy.
I had Eric Paulson out for a seminar once, and he's a real interesting guy. So he would do the pinch the nose and beep, like with
Okay.
submissions, like from cross-side. He had a lot of stuff from cross-side where like your arms are all tied up, and then, but he'd have like free hand and like grab person's nose, like beep beep.
On their nose. Right. Yeah. See, that's fun.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't like that? I'm
I'm
gonna,
good. I'm good. Let's just beat me up. Don't try.
I'm
to,
gonna
like-
start doing that to you.
Are you?
When you go real tight with the T-Rex hands, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna start beep beeping on your nose.
Right. You have to get into. Yeah, we were just talking about it yesterday at class. How what was one of the guys was saying how there was a guy he used to roll with, and the guy would stare at him, like stare in his eyes. Like,
Oh, really?
And he said, "It just freaks me out, man." Like I'm going to pass his guard, and he's just like staring in my eyes.
that is odd. 'Cause I don't think we make eye contact a lot.
I don't. No.
No.
For just recently, because I thought to myself, I never look at my opponent or my training partner ever when I'm rolling.
No.
Ever.
I don't
you
think
know? But the thought of that just popped in my head like a month ago, and I'm like, I'm going to start seeing if like other people do, you know? So I've been like lifting my eyes up to like look at their face, and they're staring right at me.
Really?
All of them.
Every one of them.
I mean, a lot of them. I'm like, what the fuck are you looking
it's
at?
just you.
You know what I mean? Like, why would you look at my face?
I
My
think
face
it's,
isn't going to
normally
pass your guard.
Looking at hips. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at your torso. Just
I'm looking at
I
your
need
hands,
to see
man.
what's going on.
Yeah.
No, I need to because wherever your hips are going,
Hands
that's where
and
you're
hips,
going.
yeah.
So I play a lot of a guard. So
Okay.
I'm always on my back.
Yeah.
So I'm always constantly hip. That's why I'm looking.
Sure.
Yeah.
Straight down. I never look at their eyes.
Yeah, like
I'm never
staring
staring
into
at
their
someone's
eyes.
eyes.
It's so weird.
odd.
Man. Isn't that a weird thing?
That is weird.
Yeah.
But I think you should try to start doing that. Start
Well,
staring
just to
back.
creep people out.
Right.
Just start staring
Whereas
back.
have a
that could be
staring
like
contest?
that could be like a good bottom, kind of like, bottom escape kind of a thing where you're just like,
Yeah.
fourth dimension of jujitsu. Where no, man, I'm in your head now.
Yeah, right.
You're on top of me.
Like this
but-
is like there's so much eye contact here. This is getting way too intimate for
Right,
me.
right.
Like, I don't
Like,
think I want to pass and get any
Right,
closer
exactly.
to you.
Like,
man.
I'm getting off of you. This is freaking me out.
Drop back for a leg lock. That's it.
Exactly. I can just admit you from the furthest point away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Belly down, ankle
yeah, for
lock.
sure.
Yeah. So I don't have to look at you at all.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Sean, I hear you're quite the wrist locker.
I have grown to love wrist locks as an older practitioner of jujitsu. Yes, I like simple, and I know there's. Let's just put it out there. Like say, wrist locks are gay, and I'd say, well, if you weren't doing this or this with your wrist.
There you go.
Right,
Right?
if you weren't making the air
right.
quotes gay sign with your wrist, there'd be nothing to wrist lock.
Right, there would be no wrist locks there. So, we were having a little discussion before about why having a good passing game is really what you want to have before you start doing leg locks, because otherwise your guard passing never really improves.
right.
But yet then leg locks really keep like your guard game good when at a certain point, because you can't disregard them. And that's kind of the way I look at wrist locks too, is that people can't get poor grips and ignore it. Like, I'm certainly not going to ignore it. So if somebody's grabbing me and there's a way that I can easily manipulate their wrist, I'm gonna take it.
So how do you it's not something we train. Paul's done a wrist lock on me before, and I've been wrist locked just back in the 90s. I used to do JKD a lot.
Yeah.
So we train wrist locks. But
Anthony only wants to be wrist locked by black belts.
yeah.
Black belts are.
Well, I just feel like I'm in better hands with a black belt
Sure.
than,
because the purple
something
belt's
like-
going to break his wrist.
It's-
Right.
I mean, it's
right, because
possible.
we don't know how to.
Right.
Like,
I'm just
let
saying.
go.
Straight wrists. That's always grips, man.
Because when
Yeah,
I hear
not-
someone say tap, I don't know. I'm not a black belt, so I don't know how to let go.
Usually yeah, right. It's
Right.
usually
But
a
but
scream.
it's more. It's a quick thing. So if you don't know what you can really injure somebody's wrist.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't take much to injure a wrist.
Right.
That's a sucky thing to injure, because now I can't grab. I can't.
it's everything.
It's fucking everything. I
Right.
can't I can't frame.
Maybe
I
I
lose a
can't.
lot
Right.
with just
Like-
injuring my wrist.
or work.
Or exactly. But you know what I mean? Because I want to stay on the mat as long as possible. And if Paul's wrist locking me, sorry, man, I just don't want you to do it. That's no thanks. I mean, I keep a tight wrist, and Andre will go on wrist locks with me, but I'm used to Andre doing it, so I
Right.
look for it.
Sure.
But I don't think Paul's gonna do it to me.
Right.
So he kind of surprised me that day.
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Sean, next time if you ever roll with Anthony, make sure you let him know what submissions you like,
Okay.
what submissions you're going to go for in the round, and maybe that all needs to be disclosed before you slap
Right.
hands.
Okay.
Oh, that's not true.
Yeah.
As long as I know that, I mean, I only assume black belts are gonna wrist lock, because I've only been wrist locked by black belts.
Yeah.
Paul surprise attacked me with a fucking wrist lock, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
I wrist
And
lock
he keeps bringing it up. This fucking guy, he won't let it die.
because you cried about it. It was the
Yeah,
best. I
man,
couldn't
it
even
sucked.
believe it, man. Damn, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it sucks.
Thought you were grittier than that.
Oh,
I wrist lock my girlfriend all the time.
Do you really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like my main sub on her. Because it's just right there. I mean, if you're on the couch or
Yeah.
whatever and you're, spooning or whatever, I'm big spoon and, smart ass remark or anything, I'm not going to like change position and like armbar her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Just wrist
the
lock.
wrist is right there.
Yeah.
Just, sure. A little,
but now women probably have more flexibility or dexterity in their wrist, right?
Uh-huh.
So does
She
you
taps
pull-
quick.
Does she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's only leading to if you do so many wrist locks to her, that's where she's like pushing you awake in bed one night, and she's got like the lit can of Sterno like over you. Hey,
You can't do
remember
it
that
too
wrist
much.
lock? That was so funny.
Right. She would too. She likes revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you're laying, like feet to feet, like her head's on one side of the couch, mine's on the other, like in a scissors position almost.
Sure.
Yeah. It's Achilles lock is the main go-to there,
Sure. Yeah, you got to do that.
because they wouldn't appreciate a heel hook, I don't think,
No.
But
they-
they'd fall off the couch.
They'd fall- yeah, they'd roll
But
off
then,
the
then
couch.
heel hook, because some people don't understand. It's called a heel hook, but it's really attacking the
Attacks
knee.
the knee.
Yeah.
So they're thinking they're going to feel it on their heel.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
it's
their knee
too
blows
late.
out.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it was a heel hook, but
Yeah.
you're supposed to tap when they feel the pressure on the knee.
Yeah.
I don't get it. And
Right.
now they walk with a limp.
Yeah. Now you don't have a girlfriend
That's
anymore.
it. Right. You're done.
Hey,
pushing
what
the
happened
wheelchair.
with you and blah, blah, blah? She didn't tap. Right. What do you want me to do?
Right. Yeah, when the police are taking the report
Right.
on that. Yeah, she didn't tap, man.
Yeah, what do you want me to do?
Right. Yeah. Is that true? Is that true, miss?
Sean, I saw on your Facebook page you won Master World last year.
Yes,
Took
I
gold,
did this
huh?
year. Did this year
Or
too.
this
So
year?
yeah, no, I had 2 years in a row.
Oh, nice.
2
Good
years
man.
in a row. Yeah, thanks.
So what
Thank
weight?
you. Lightweight Master 6.
Lightweight. What's
it's-
lightweight?
It's
what I meant.
168.
160. Okay.
168
Okay.
to whatever. I don't know.
Master 6.
Yeah, Master 6. So
Still fucking doing it, huh?
Still gonna. It's like they'll
That's
be
awesome.
dumping
Any
me out of
wrist locks out there?
There would be. I mean, but so here this year it was so funny because in my matches, what I realized one of my takeaways was like you get old guys on the mat, nobody's pulling guard. There's nobody's freaking pulling guard because everybody wants the other guy to pull guard because we're all good at passing guard. So,
Right, I see.
So it's like no man, I am not pulling guard at all, which is hilarious. So it's kind of like wheels turning. Like hey, like maybe it'd really be good, like refine that guard game for the next time because it's going to be a gimme if you can get it, if you can get advantage of it. The other is, everybody has this idea like, okay, I want to optimize my stand up game, and I used to train a lot of stand up and do all that, but then I got an artificial hip, I had a bad knee injury this year before, so you're not looking to do a lot of throws or things like that. So everybody gets this idea too at a certain point in time, like, oh well, instead of me getting right-handed grip, I'm going to get a left-handed grip because it just throws people off.
Sure.
If you're right-handed grip and you're like, what the hell, you're not boxed out, you're like it's all in the same thing. So it was the funniest damn thing. My first match, I fought Rafael Lovato Sr.
Okay.
And I was just smiling to myself during the match because I had seen some of his son's stuff, Junior's thing on gripping on YouTube, and it was he and Senior and I are doing the exact same grips, the exact same grips, like going for grip dominance and it was like a kata of all this grip stuff, and it was really kind of funny because of that. But guys are tough. I mean, these guys are so tough. My finals match this year, I had a guy, and he's lightweight. He's pushing me all over the mat, like it was I was fighting like a silverback gorilla. Really? I mean, I was along for the ride with everything. I mean, even he ended up pulling guard. He was so strong. He grabbed me over the shoulders and was lifting me up in the air. I mean, I'm strong. It was crazy. Wow. He was crazy strong. So that's another thing to work on this year. So yeah, start
Master 6. So Master 6, you're fighting. That's the top, right?
No. Now there's a new top. There's Master 7. This was the first year I had Master 7. Yeah.
Wow. So what's Master 6 go up to then?
It goes up to 59.
How old are you, Sean?
I'm 58. So I got one more year there. I mean, every year is a gift. Yeah. So,
but you look good for 58.
Yeah, thanks.
Jiu-jitsu keeps you young.
Yeah, it's all black tar on the inside and a lot of metal parts. Metal parts.
So you have artificial hip. How did that happen?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe jiu-jitsu. Actually, I think I wore it out. Earlier, I was a competitive bodybuilder in the 80s. I still like squat crazy amounts of weight and things like that. I mean, and believe me, jiu-jitsu had its, contributed greatly to that. But I would say that's probably the worst injury I've had, because it took years to it degraded over years. Right. I mean, I get to the point I had super bad limp, couldn't sleep, couldn't walk. I could still roll, had not poor range of motion, but I put off having surgery for a long time, and then I had it done in 2011 by a guy in South Carolina. It was a special kind of hip replacement where they preserve the femoral head. It's just like an athlete's surgery, and so, but it's a longer recovery. So it's like a year until you can do impact, like run. Right. Couldn't roll. I was on crutches for a couple of months. I mean, it was a long recovery, and that was really hard for me mentally, like, because I was never really off the mat like more than a couple days ever. And now, knowing I was not going to be sparring for a long time, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I put the surgery off for a long time. Was I knew it was crazy invasive. I mean, it was nuts. But on the other hand, when I did start to come back, like my new hip, my range of motion, it was like I would find myself on my back, and like my foot's right here.
Yeah, you're playing rubber guard now.
No, I'm like, oh my god, and I'm doing it like it's not somebody's like jamming my foot in my face. It's like, oh man,
all of a sudden Sean's got a mean go plata game.
Yeah,
in the bottom. Yeah, so that was a question I had. Because I feel one of my hips is like kind of. From the years of construction, I can see it starting to like it hurts, man. And I know a ton of electricians that have had hip replacements.
Well, my hip clicks.
And carpenters. And
I got like my left hip click. I hear it like clicking. Like it's like, I don't know if it's like tendons going over the hip, like bone. And
now
it's clicking.
More than likely what it is. It's osteophytes. I mean, it's probably early like osteoarthritis. That's what happens. And interestingly, a lot of it's your hip protects the joint by kind of producing more bone. Especially like on the femoral head and femoral neck, and it's called osteophytes. And what ends up happening though is these osteophytes, which are little like pieces of bone they end up grinding out more cartilage, which causes your body to produce even more osteophytes, which grinds out more cartilage. And so just over time, that's how you end up with, hip replacement, because you don't have any cartilage left in your hip. Wow. So more than likely, I would say like the clicking thing, because that's what I had. I had clicking for a while before it just, actually what happened was I had absolutely no cartilage in my hip, and I wore a 9mm groove to the top of my femoral head. I mean, it was nuts. But the thing that got me off the ball to have surgery was another jiu-jitsu guy, longtime jiu-jitsu guy, Jeff Rozovics, who's a Carlson Gracie black belt. I knew him for a long time, and I knew he had some hip problems, and so we used to talk about it, and he would talk about doing this resurfacing surgery. And so I went to a seminar where he just happened to be there, and he was on the mat. And he goes, hey, man, he goes, I just had that surgery like 3 months ago. And I saw him, he's walking okay, he's in a gi, he's on a mat. I'm like, oh, my God, I can't believe that. Right. And so I talked to him about it, and that got me off the ball, because I felt like here's somebody who does exactly what I do, who had it done, he's back on the mat, and, he's functioning. And so, and I think he would say the same thing. Like that surgery, really was a like a lifesaver in terms of like a jiu-jitsu thing. But yeah, I've had a lot. I tore my bicep off my shoulder this year back in March, so I had that reattached in April.
How'd that happen?
Just like I had a torn rotator cuff, and my bicep just wore out over. I woke up one morning, I look in the mirror, my biceps hanging down.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
like, oh man, like, ooh, that ain't right.
Damn,
You just woke up. You're a heavy
I swear
sleeper,
to God.
bro.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So, that just, goes back kind of to this grit of, jujitsu and pain thresholds and everything else where you just like, okay, man, one more thing to get fixed so I can get back on the mat. Right. And, a lot of different stuff, but if you do jiu-jitsu long enough, you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you've been training for how many years now?
About 20 years,
20
a little
years.
over 20.
And what was like the thing that just got you to step on the mat for the first time?
Well, I was JKD guy. I was trained with Dion Ricardo, and
So did I.
and so Dion was one of those like unicorn blue belts, and he got his from Hickson. And so for the full scale JKD thing, he was the submission grappling and Brazilian jiu-jitsu for the ground portion of that, and so and I was a wrestler. I wrestled from the time I was 6 years old all the way up into college, and so I hadn't been on a mat in years. So like once I got back on a mat, I was like that part clicked, and not to say I didn't like all the other stuff with JKD, but. Yeah, I mean, you trained with Dion, you trained all that stuff.
So were you there? Because I was there. I started with Dion in like 91, 92.
Yeah.
And then I got my apprentice instructorship in 99.
Okay.
So were you over?
Yeah, I was at
Oak
Oak Park.
Oak Park.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we had to train at
Probably.
one point.
Yeah, we probably crossed paths. He used to teach out in Downers.
Yes.
And that's kind of how I got started. Is Jerry Guerra? Do you know him? Because Jerry used to go to both locations, and Jerry was a guy that I knew from the gym for years. He's a big bodybuilder guy for years, and he knew Dion from growing up, and he started training with Dion when Dion was teaching out of his garage, and Jerry kind of pulled me in, and and that's kind of how it started with him. And so, for me it was he's got like married, job, young baby, all that stuff, and all the going to Sunday be like 5 hours. You're training like all kinds of like knife fighting and stick fighting and doing all this stuff, and it just got to the point like, man, well, I think if I'm in a knife fight or a stick fight, like I think I'll be okay. Right. So if I had, I just had to pick. I just had to choose, and so I focused on the ground.
Yeah, I didn't like the ground back then.
Yeah,
it wasn't really.
Right. No. Well, we have these just how you ran stuff just these scrums, where you'd like spar, and it would just escalate. It's like escalate. You start out, you got a stick, you got a knife, and next thing you know, you're like you're on the ground, and
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
I do.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
It's intense, man.
Yeah. Lights go off. I just was always something different.
Oh, you turned the lights off in the room too?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did when we were over on 26th Street in Berwyn, we'd go in the alley and spar inside like fenced areas and stuff.
Oh, really?
Just
to get like a real street feel?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It was crazy. We did some like situational crazy stuff.
Yeah. So you know Slim?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's one of my training partners.
Okay. So
That's why I hate jujitsu.
So
Slim was not Slim.
No.
Slim was like
Slim was one of those.
350,
Yeah,
400.
he's a big
I was
dude.
one of those guys.
And I had to pair up with that guy.
And he
that
was
guy's
good.
on top of me.
And he was good.
And he was good.
This was that Slim, funniest guy in the world for a lot of things, but
He's a good guy, real good guy.
This was one of my earliest introductions to the suck of jiu-jitsu was training up at Dion's for class, I don't know, it was maybe like a month or so, and I ended up sparring with Slim, and he got on top of me in mount, and like he's laying on top of me, and I can't breathe. Like he is enveloping my face,
Completely
everything,
smothered.
Oh, yeah.
and I'm pushing and not hitting anything solid. So you start to. I mean, like I'm literally suffocating, and I can't find any leverage point to give myself like any air. Eventually I did, but it was like, oh my God.
And he's really good at collie too, Slim.
Yeah.
He was no joke with the collie stick.
I used to remember
moved
holding
really well.
He had like super long arms,
Yeah.
and his striking was really good. I used to hold pads for him, and your hands would hurt.
Yeah.
But he would have these funny stories about he's a big heavy guy, so everybody figures like, oh, big heavy guys like they're like, let's go pick on them. And he always had all these funny stories about, hey, these two guys come up in a car, hey, fatso, everything, and he's like, okay, man. He knocks both the guys out. So I would not ever want to mess with him ever.
No, he was a good guy.
Yeah.
Real good guy. Yeah, so Jimmy Bonavolante.
Oh, yeah,
he
yeah.
used to train back
Yeah.
then.
Jimmy B.
Yeah. He used to train back then.
Jimmy B.
I grew up with like Dave Gomez.
Dave Gomez, sure. Yeah.
That was like, he was, for me, he's one who got me started in JKD
Okay.
in 91.
Yeah.
So I used to date his sister.
Oh, okay.
And so I spent the night by their house, and I stayed downstairs with Davey, in the basement, and he had all his Taekwondo trophy. Like Davey was like legit Taekwondo.
Yeah.
Like that guy was like fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And he just dropped people. It was impressive, and that's how I got started. So
Who was the other striking guy? The thin guy, Gabe.
Gabe.
Yeah, that was
one of the twins.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I used to, because I'm 42.
Yeah.
So I was always the youngest in the class in the gym, and so I would always try to model my boxing after Gabe.
Yeah.
Gabe was so crisp.
Yeah.
Thin, looked like Bruce Lee, like his like super shredded, just shredded, and just crisp. Man.
Yeah.
He was so crisp.
Yeah, he moved really well.
And then Big Gabe, you remember Big Gabe? Mm-hmm. So Big Gabe, he tried out for the Navy SEALs like twice. I think the first time he broke his leg, and then the second time something else happened. But
wow,
yeah, dude, he was a tough dude too.
So what is the state of JKD right now? I mean, is it?
Well, I mean,
Is it
Inasano's
still
still
going?
around.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I just trained with Inasano like 5 years ago. Was it 2011 or something like that? 6 years ago. I went to an Inasano seminar, and Inasano looks fucking great.
Yeah.
Fucking moves great. I mean,
That's wild.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's a Machado black belt.
Yeah.
And I mean, Chickadee's still around. Vunak is still doing something.
Yeah,
you
Jack
guys seen-
McVicker is still doing a lot.
I just watched a movie. I rented it on Amazon called Birth of the Dragon.
Okay.
Do you see it?
No.
Okay, so it's basically about Bruce Lee 9 years before the movie Enter the Dragon.
Okay.
It's him based in San Francisco and this and that, and his big fight with the monk guy.
Yeah, Wong or something like that.
Yeah,
Something.
Wong Man something.
something like that.
Yeah. How and there's speculation that like he came over because they were kind of upset that Bruce Lee was teaching
yeah.
to the Westerners and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's about the whole movie is about that like epic fight between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually pretty good. I mean, you have to be into martial arts to enjoy it, but I thought it was okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
They had that one that was like it was kind of like the softer Bruce Lee biopic that was out years ago, and they depicted that a little bit, but it was, I would say, it was a little bit softer version of that.
What was that one called? The Dragon?
Something like that.
But the guy was a lot thicker.
Yeah.
He wasn't so thinned out like
right?
Bruce was.
No.
Yeah. But it's good. It was nice to see when Brandon came on the scene, his son, and he would start doing those movies like, was it Rapid Fire was one
Right.
of those. And he actually incorporate JKD into the movie. You're like, oh man, he's trapping right there. Like when he just does the trapping and stuff. I'm like, wow, it's so cool. It really works. When you think about it, it's like, I don't know if it's really gonna work like that.
Right.
It was cool to see the choreography in play though.
Right.
Well, and so the acting in one of those, I can't remember what movie it was exactly, where I guess he was like an undercover person, and it was just this fight through a kitchen in a hotel or something. It was just like the acting was absolutely horrible. The action was pretty good, but the acting was horrible. So I don't know. What do you guys think about remaking The Crow?
No, I hope
Are they
don't
doing
do
it?
that.
Yeah, they want to.
terrible.
They keep talking about doing it, but yeah, I feel the same way. Like that's a sacred movie.
Yeah,
Dude.
you don't touch that.
Especially after knowing
You
what
don't
happened.
touch
during
that.
No,
Don't get me wrong. I'd watch it if they remade it, but
That's sad. That should just be what it is.
Like, yeah.
That was sad. That was tragic.
Yeah, it's very tragic.
I mean, man.
So for the younger listeners who might not know what you're talking about, explain.
Oh, so Brandon Lee died on set.
Yeah.
He got hit by a...
The movie The Crow probably came out in 90...
Yeah, in the 90s.
Yeah,
90s.
90. No, it was earlier. It was like 92.
92?
Yeah.
But the second Crow is where he passed away.
It was the first Crow. It was the
first
first
one?
Crow. Yeah. The second one was like a different story, different person.
Well, I thought it was this. I thought it was the second one he passed
No,
away.
I remember people weren't into the second one because it wasn't.
Oh, maybe you are right. Because the whole thing is that one of the...
Or maybe you're right, because didn't they have to replace him with,
thought they had to replace him.
with a lookalike?
Yeah, and they did
In the middle of the movie, though.
So the initial Crow came out in 94.
94. Okay.
So one of the guns shot like the stage guns or whatever it's
supposed to be blanks.
supposed to be blanks, but one of the blanks like came out and or a shell from it and hit him and killed him.
Yeah.
Like actually shot him.
Yeah, I think it was, and I think the scene was the pawn shop.
Oh, was it the pawn shop?
So yeah.
Yeah. Because it was so strange. There's so many. He gets shot so much in that movie.
Yeah.
Right.
You're just like, what the fuck?
Because it wasn't filmed. It wasn't filmed in order. Because if you think if there was ever going to be any mayhem, it would have been when he came into that meeting.
With all the
right.
and on the
Because
boardroom,
there's thousands of bullets flying around in there. Like
exactly.
you could, but it wasn't. I think it was a pawn shop scene.
Yeah, that was sad.
Yeah.
There's so much conspiracy behind that too. That was like
Right, the firstborn male in the Lee
yeah.
household has to die.
Oh, yeah.
It was before the internet, so
Yeah.
conspiracy theories were out there. We're just like, oh man,
Because didn't they say Bruce Lee's death was a conspiracy as well?
exactly. Yeah, there's conspiracy around that. There's conspiracy.
What
around
did they
everything.
say? What did he die from again? Brain aneurysm?
Yep. Yeah.
Due to, they were saying he was in hash brownies and
Yeah.
Hash brownies
he was
ain't gonna do it.
poisoned, which caused it, or accident on set, hit his head on set, or some kind of thing.
yeah, there's a conspiracy for everything, man. Everything. It's crazy. But I hope they don't remake it because that's
Right. If
doesn't
there's
make
one,
sense.
please don't remake that one.
But it's always interesting because I used to have a poster that said, they would remake Bruce Lee movies with people named Bruce Lee, but they spell his name L-I, and then have a picture of the actual Bruce Lee on the movie poster.
Right.
You're like, what the? And it's like, oh, Bruce Lee, but they would trick you. They're like, oh, that's not really Bruce Lee. It's just some other Chinese guy
Right.
who
Right.
doesn't look like him, and they spell his name L-I.
Right.
Like Jet Li.
Yeah, Jet Li, exactly. But those movies, I kind of appreciate some of those movies with Jet Li and
I like
and
Jet
those
Li.
Crouching Tiger,
Oh,
Hidden
for sure.
Dragon
Right.
ones.
Yeah.
The fantasy of being able to do the stuff they do. The choreography is amazing.
It is.
The sword work that they do in those movies is really
it's
cool.
just the part that I get lost on with all those movies is the where they're flying through the air, the CGI kind of a thing, like the Crouching Tiger, Hidden
Crouching
Dragon.
Tiger.
Like totally lost. Like
I'm
okay.
with you, Sean.
It's just like I can appreciate the cinematography of that. I
Right.
like some of those movies, they put when it's all white scene or it's all green scene. There's it sets the mood. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And I can, I know it's a fantasy that there's no way for them to go and hang on a treetop on a leaf. I know that, or a branch.
Right.
But I could appreciate, their thought behind it.
As far I don't know. As far as I go, there is would be like Kill Bill.
Okay.
This, the Crazy 88, that scene, and then the follow up where she goes and it's like you're saying, like the scene, it's the snow and the garden and all that. Like
But Quentin Tarantino is a master.
Yeah,
At that. He's such a master. That's a really
I
I think they're coming out with another Kill Bill.
Are
I
they
think
really?
I think that's in the works.
Oh, really?
God, I hope so.
That's what they should call it. Kill Another Bill. Because the
That was-
original Bill's gone.
Yeah, he is gone. Let me see. I think I did see that Kill Bill 3. Let's see. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there you
When
go.
are they going
Volume
to come out
3.
with a good jiu-jitsu movie?
I don't know.
Probably never. It's hard. That's a hard one for
Is it?
anybody to appreciate what's going on.
Right.
If you think about
Think
it.
about the States. Think about how much bigger wrestling is than jiu-jitsu as far as participants, and there's 2 wrestling movies?
Right, exactly.
There's Vision Quest, and
Brilliant.
there's
And what's the other one?
Foxcatcher.
Foxcatcher,
yeah.
and then there's American Wrestler, I think is the
Okay.
name of the movie. It just came out last year. It's actually
But
pretty
don't you
good.
think there could be easily, I mean, without doubt, easily a miniseries on the Gracies?
Yeah, no, sure,
Fuck
like a
yeah.
bio,
Fuck.
like a bio series. Yeah, exactly.
It would be. I mean, there's the family's so large,
Right, and
I mean,
so
there could be. But I mean, I think they could even spin it off to be like a fucking.
No, for sure. So,
Easily a movie series.
so just throwing this out there, not again, not priming this in any certain way. How do you think that revenue split would work amongst all the Gracies?
Oh shit! Just to get through that red tape.
Right, exactly.
Holy
So,
fuck.
right, once we get
all
through that,
we just do the Bruce Lee thing. We change the first.
Right.
So instead of like Hodger Gracie with an R, we just put the H in there.
That's
right,
it.
instead of Gracie,
You know?
I don't know what you, or Grace, just change
Yeah.
to Grace.
Right,
You
exactly.
have to come up with another badass name of like,
Right.
this family that
Yeah.
Right.
dominates the world. Right.
That's
It could be
true.
done. I mean, they've done it so many times. I mean, in movies where they've changed all the names and they're like, oh, it really wasn't called that. Or
Yeah,
you know what
any
I mean?
resemblance to people living or dead
Right,
is purely
exactly.
coincidental.
exactly. Exactly. Got to have the lawyers involved with that.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a tragedy if someone doesn't just do something based on that family.
Right.
That family is obviously I think they're an amazing family regardless of the politics inside that family, but the story, there is something that's out on YouTube that Javi actually we were watching it on the way to a seminar in Kentucky. You weren't in the car with us, Paul. But it's kind of like it was like a 2-hour documentary about the Gracies, and I don't know how it was both in Portuguese and in English, but it was pretty good. But I think that they can make that a little bit. I don't even remember the name of it. Javi will probably post it after he hears this.
Yeah, make it
somewhere.
a series. Like just the struggle of,
Yeah.
and the years of refining it, and just
And
kind
just-
of the,
just like,
the
you know-
pushback from the community, and then moving from Brazil to the States. And they
Wait, what
started
about just the
UFC.
inner city? Like just like Carlos giving Helio one of his sons, and like just that alone is like
Right.
fucking
Right,
like,
with
what?
with holes and
Yeah.
all that, and that's the
That's
and that's the
fucking-
link.
that's
So
crazy.
that's the link to Jacques Array. So Holes was Jacques Array's professor, and so and so in the whatever, like and Jacques Array has like the most incredible stories about the Gracie family and the Holes, and well, I mean he's kind of like this. I don't know if like kind of a historian in that sense of he was around all of them, and it just gives you, I don't know, like when he would relate them. I mean, it just really gives you a sense of like, wow, man, like that how everything was shaping out and how it would eventually manifest itself in terms of like who split with who when they came to America, and how things are taught a certain way and how it's evolved to the IBJJF today and everything else. I mean, super interesting. So yeah, that would be one if we ever get him back up here for a seminar. Like there'd be a guy you probably love to talk to just for that, because
Holes was, I think, is considered like the man.
he was the dude. Yeah,
like
no,
even
for sure.
above Hickson.
Yeah.
Right? Like Holes was like,
Yeah.
that was the guy, man.
Yeah, well,
Because he went outside the family and started doing the wrestling and started really doing
Sambo. He was doing the wrestling. He was on the first, he started the first Brazilian Olympic wrestling team. I mean, he was open to so much stuff. And I have to say, I mean, I think that's, the one thing I've noticed with Alliance is there's no one style. Like there's, I mean, you can look at certain schools and you get a feel for like there's a Top Game school, or or this is just these guys play guard or whatever. And Alliance, it's so different amongst all the different like top level guys there. Jason had Bernardo Fahia, Bruno Malfacini, Demetrius Sousa, and Lucas Apri in first seminar, like all 4 guys, and Fabio Gigel was there back in October. And you see these guys all different styles, but yet kind of the mentality that they all have is not. It's not one technique. And for me, this is my evolution, if you will, as a practitioner. Is, you think of like, yeah, I do this technique, I pass the guard. I mean, really, the mindset shift is like, I'm all right, like I'm passing, and I know like I'm going to get X, Y, or Z. When I pass, person's going to do one of these three things, and I'm immediate. It's not like I pass and now I set the position. It's like, no, I like whatever I get, like I'm going to the next thing, and it may not be a submission, it may just be a positional improvement, and that having that, all those guys have that mindset, even though their games are different. Their mindset is like it doesn't stop. It doesn't, like if I sweep, it's not like, yeah, I swept and now I'm immediately going to, the next thing in my progression. There's not a waiting or anything like that. Not to say it's wild, and not to say, you don't set the position enough where if you were competing, you get points for it, but you know how you're going to progress it.
Yeah. It's funny you should mention Fabio. I was eating in a restaurant downtown. This is in October. He was here, right?
Yeah.
And I see this big guy sitting there by himself, and I'm like, man, that guy looks familiar to me. Like I couldn't place him.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at him. I'm staring. I'm like, man, the fucking dude's huge. He got a big head. And I look at his ears. His ears are jacked, all jacked. I'm like, oh, he's a jiu-jitsu guy for sure.
Right.
Either he's a wrestler or something. I know he's. So I'm just staring at him. I'm like, man. He got up, walked next. I'm wearing like a show your roll shirt or something like that. But I'm just looking at. He's standing next to me. I don't know what he was doing. Like he got something. And I'm just like, man, that guy looks so familiar. I couldn't place him for days. I'm like, fuck. And then, because I follow Alliance on Instagram,
Okay.
they posted stuff for that seminar, and it was him. I'm like, motherfucker. I'm sitting,
no shit.
like I'm in the presence of like, was he like a 6-degree black belt or something like that?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
So you could have said, "What's up?"
Could have said,
yeah,
right.
I wish you said, "Hey, man, you look familiar. Who are you?" That would have been great.
He's a super humble guy. He would just to be recognized.
Yeah.
He would have.
But it's kind of like, oh man,
Fabio Grishel, who are you? I'm a blue belt.
Yeah.
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 You haven't heard of me yet.
You haven't heard of me yet.
Right. I'm Benny from the Bronx.
Yeah. But it's like you can't picture something, because you watch Instagram, you follow these people, you're like, oh, I know him, but I can't picture him.
So I used to, with Fabio, I used to go down to Alliance before like Worlds or Pan Ams, because they would have all the guys from Brazil would come up and they do it like a training camp at Jacques Ray's place in Atlanta for like a week or 2 weeks. And so I'd go up there for a weekend to train, and it was really interesting because you'd have all these like Marcelo Garcia, Cobrinha, you got all these guys there that are training, and they all kind of take turns showing technique and stuff like that. And so it's like the second day, was the first one I went to, which was 2007. The second day of this, I'm paired up with I'm doing technique stuff with a guy who's a black belt from Texas, and we started noticing that like whoever would teach a technique, it could be a Marcelo Garcia, shows a technique, and then they come back over, and all the black belts would be sitting there around Fabio Jurgel, and Fabio Jurgel would like just motion like, hey, come here, and he would have like show him, show me this technique you were doing, and he'd tell him like not that it was wrong, but he'd show him like how to improve it. Like, here's what I would do. So this guy from Texas and myself, we would wait until the guy went back over to Fabio for critique, and like whatever Fabio said, like that's what we were doing. And one of the things to this day that stuck with me, I do a double underhook pass, and it was from that little sidebar that Fabio Jurgel showed, and it's money. I mean, it's absolute money that came out of there. And even in this seminar this time, you see all these guys together, all these top level guys, like they're all. It's always like a workshop, It's always like a lab. They come, and they're like showing like whatever kind of little positional things,
sure.
And they just got all these little detail things that they're all kind of figuring out amongst themselves.
Do those guys still roll? Does like Fabio still roll?
Oh, those guys all roll. They don't do. I don't think you see the things like you would see in days past where if you had a Brazilian in to teach a seminar, he's going to roll with everybody. But Pedro, he said Pedro was a beast. I mean, I'm like, well, there's 40 people here. Okay, 40 doing 40 rounds. I mean, he like one after the other.
Rounds or like
rounds,
he'll tap you and you're out next guy.
He eventually kind of moved to that, like
Right.
tap you, but yeah, when at first, I mean, that's the way he ran his classes. Everybody lined up, and he'd be out there, maybe like one of the other high belts, and you just like one by one, man, you roll with one of them, and I mean, he's just like this cardio beast to be able to do that. But I don't think you see that as much anymore, where guys come out and they're going to roll with everybody. And I think it's probably twofold too. It's like if you think about it, back in the day, like if somebody came out, like Pedro came to my school, it's like white belts and blue belts, like.
Right.
Now you come out and like for this seminar that we had, I mean, we had over 100 people there, and you got like 15, 18 black belts on the mat, a bunch of brown belts behind. Like, guys are like, man, that's a lot. Not to say they wouldn't kick all of our asses,
right.
But it's not. Let's just say it's probably not going to be easy for them, and the risk of being injured and things like
and
that.
just getting older in general.
Yeah, sure. But I will say, Lucas Lapri, we had him out. He rolled like a smaller crowd. Had him out once. He rolled. We did maybe like 7 or 8 rounds, and he rolled every round with people.
How about Bruno?
Bruno does this past time. Nobody rolled, and this was the first time we had him out. But we had Fabio out last year, I think. It was last year, and he rolled. He got on the mat and rolled. He rolled with one of the rounds with Jason Sullins. I mean, he gets out like I tell you what, I wouldn't want him on top of me.
No, he's a big dude.
Oh man, no, he's a beast. Yeah. He's a beast.
Yeah, I like how big is Bruno in person?
Bruno Malfacini's a little dude.
He's real little, right?
Yeah,
he's
I think he's a featherweight. Yeah, he's like
he's
rooster.
He's rooster. Yeah, he's short, but he's thick. He's thick.
Yeah.
He's not he's not a beanpole.
He's like 5'2", I think.
No, I'd say 5'4", 5'5".
So I'm about 5'4", 5'4.5".
Yeah,
Just my size.
Yeah, I'd say maybe a little shorter. Maybe a little shorter. Yeah. Bernardo, he's a big lanky dude. Funny guy. And Demetrius Sousa, he's more serious. Like, he's a guy who's still in Brazil, and he again, like, just looking at him, this guy, like, I don't know if I want to roll with him.
Yeah, there's those guys, right?
Yeah.
They're like, nah, I'll pass this one.
Yeah, right.
So what's coming up for you in 2018, Sean?
God only knows. I hope it's not anything orthopedic.
You gonna go for 3 in a row out at Master Worlds?
It's so there's a saying that goes, you want to make the gods laugh, tell them about your plans. So I have goals. I have goals for next year.
But I gotta say, because Mineko came on the podcast last year, and we asked him what's going on for 2017, and he laid it out. He goes, "It's going to be my best year ever," and he went 1 Euros, 1 Worlds, submission of the night at Fight to Win, fucking. Yeah, he had a great year.
Yeah.
So it might be good luck to tell us what's going on.
You know what? I'd rather tell you what I did right after I did it,
Okay.
and then do that, because that's just kind of the way I am. I mean, I'm it's funny. I had this discussion with Jason Sullins a couple weeks ago, and just talked about like competing and how hard it is to do when you own a school, and the reason is really you have to be selfish.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to be selfish when you're running a business, you're coming in, you're trying to plan out curriculum. You don't get to train, you don't get to do techniques and stuff like that. You're walking around helping people and stuff. And, and even when you're sparring, you're trying to help people out with their game, and it's just so hard. And so that's been kind of nice, the time that I've been at Evolution is like, I told you, look, this is great, man. I teach every once in a while,
Right.
but it's kind of like when I came in, and especially as it came up to the worlds where, like, I came in and I'm focused. Like,
Right.
I'm gonna roll. It's about me. I'm working on these things, and I'm gonna roll with specific people who like are hard, and help me prepare my game. And so and that's all I would say is like, I definitely have goals, and I have like a roadmap to achieve them, especially for this year, in my head, and it's based on my experience competing the past 2 years. But like, I predict my bicep falling off in March, and had to come back from that. I had a bad knee injury, which is still there, which is kind of crazy. I literally could not walk for a couple of days. So I came back from my surgery, just was training for maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And on June 29th, I like 2 knee slice passes, 2 different guys, and my knee just it just hurt so bad. After the last one, my knee just like killed me. Next morning, woke up, I literally could not walk. I had to like dig out crutches from when I had my hip done.
Wow.
And whatever. Waited a while and went to see the ortho, and didn't want. He prescribed an MRI, which I did not do. Kind of like, I don't want to know. Thing. It was more like, what can you do, man? What do you got? What do you got that you could do? And so anyway, I found out afterwards that I have a flipped bucket handle meniscus tear, and that's where the edge of the meniscus tears off. So think knee slice, like you push down,
right?
But then it flipped back under my knee, so I can't like put my knee to my butt. But then also, it's like another interesting thing. I had a sprained MCL and a fractured femoral head. So then, or the neck, or it comes down, it sits on there. So this is like just crazy shit. So, yeah.
So true what you're saying, though, as far as like when you're training to be a competitor, you have to be super selfish.
Yeah.
And when you are the gym owner, it's your job is to help everyone else. And even if you do get a chance to spar and roll with the class, beating the shit out of your students isn't helping them.
Right.
They're not learning anything.
And that's and I think that's the other thing is depending upon the student makeup of your school, you don't have anybody they're good to train with. And again, that's the thing I like about Evolution. There's a lot of black belts there. There's a lot of really good brown belts. And so, you're at that level when you roll with them. I know I'm training at a black belt level, and and that's a level you need to be trained with. So to your point, like, hey, if you're rolling with blue belts and purple belts and stuff like that, nothing against that. I'm just saying it's not at the same level, that you would get. And so, there's people who've obviously managed to be able to strike that balance, and Andre, appears to be one of those guys that's able to.
I find it weird, like, because we got a couple of Browns in the school, 4 or 5 Browns, and
We got blacks also.
Well, yeah, but they don't come in like regularly to
Right.
But yeah, Andre gets his training in with like purple belts pretty much.
Yeah.
And
I bet he gets
Brown.
together with some of those.
Yeah,
some
like
of the other
Mark
guys.
Vivas and Carlos and those guys will stop
Right.
by. They'll do a thing where they stop by every Tuesday for like a month or something.
Yeah.
But like still, it's not like really that. It's not like he's building a camp up or
Right.
anything for.
Right. Yeah, but he's attained a level of proficiency where,
Yeah,
he may not. Obviously, he hasn't needed a whole lot that way. So that's great for him.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. I'm excited to see him fight at Nogi Worlds. I know this is gonna come out after all this, so people are gonna be like, "Well, we already fought." No.
Yeah.
So, but this episode's gonna air. When is this episode? After the new year, right?
The second.
Yeah, January 2nd.
Okay.
So, Happy New Year to everyone.
Yeah. Happy New Year. It's pretty wild.
It's crazy.
Some crazy New Year's Eve.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Any open mats for New Year's Eve? You hit open mats anywhere else?
You
just kind of stick. Do you guys have open mats?
Yeah, we have open mats every Friday and Friday night and Sunday morning. So they're open.
Oh, okay.
They're open. They're both at Sean Burke and Naperville. So.
But do you visit any other gyms, or you just kind of stay at Alliance?
Because
you live out there.
I live close. Yeah. I live close out there. I mean, and the reality is, there's only so much fuel in my tank, kind of a thing. So, I mean, I'll do, especially like as it gets close to competition, I'll try to get on the mat as much as possible. But again, it's very focused.
Right.
So I just started doing CrossFit 2 months ago. So
how's that going?
It's going. I tell you what, I was among the many who would look at CrossFit like, oh my God, like that's the stupidest thing in the world. And hey, I don't like, I'll one of these like Kenny Powers thing, like, hey, I ain't trying to be the best at exercising.
Right.
And I ain't trying to be the best at exercising, but I think in terms of applicability to jiu-jitsu, it's, I hate it, but I love it because it's the same kind of a thing where there's at least where I go, there's a strength portion. So it's usually there's flexibility. So always at the beginning stretching. And then there's a strength portion, which is, like a lot of it is traditional powerlifting kind of thing. So a lot of it's some of it's explosive, some of it's traditional weightlifting things, but then the bulk of it is metabolic conditioning. So think about it like it's like lifting weights for time. And other body weight exercises, and it's all sorts of different things to where you can't, it's really difficult to adapt. And so to me, that similarity with jiu-jitsu is really, really good, where, you're trying to accomplish this work within a given set of time,
right.
And you're dying,
Does it ever can you peak out?
With that, I think you could burn out. I think you could absolutely burn out. I mean, I'm never going to be the guy who's trying to lift the most amount of weight or anything like that. But a lot of this stuff is like this metabolic conditioning. Some of these things will just be body weight, where you're doing it for time. So you look at stuff and go, oh well, that doesn't seem that bad. But if you're doing 8 different exercises, and they're only 10 reps each, but you're doing them 8 times. And you're trying to get it done in 20 minutes. Right. That is, and you're doing crazy things like these box jumps. I mean, I never thought in a million years of me doing freaking box jumps at 58. But you try, like jiu-jitsu, we kind of get good at breath control and things like that. Like you throw those into like a mix of things. Like you can't control your breath, like 'cause you're exploding doing them. So I've liked it, and I'd say. Cardio-wise, it's definitely helped my jiu-jitsu, like absolutely, where I feel like I can push through rounds versus kind of hanging on. And for me, the story there was we had a guy from our school, Matt Lessman, who was a longtime Jay Velko guy, brown belt. He came and started training with us out in Naperville because he moved out there. He was a big guy, probably when he first came, he was a little overweight and stuff like that. And when he first came, he was gassed out, everything, a lot and stuff. Good technical guy, but that was it. And he started doing CrossFit. And it was 8, 9 months later, he's like, I don't want to roll with him. I mean, well, but he's a beast. I mean, he lost a bunch of weight, super strong, great cardio. So, hey, it
works, I guess.
I don't know that I would do it if it was just that, but I think it's got great applicability for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I mean, right now I walk around pretty light. I walk around I weighed the other day 132.4.
Yeah,
and I rolled, and then I weighed myself. I'm like, fuck, 132, man. It's hard for me to gain weight. I train 4 or 5 days a week. So something's got to get either to be able to, because I have to fight at Master Worlds. I had to move up a weight class to featherweight, so I'm fighting at 149.
Yeah, right.
So maybe in 2018 this year, I'm kind of have to figure out, kind of I don't want to get bulky. I want to get heavier, more dense. Does that make sense? I want to get a little, what I mean?
Right.
Build a little density.
That's bulk.
But that's bulk.
But
I don't want to be
you just don't like the word.
Yeah, I don't think you do. I mean,
bulk.
it just depends how you do that. If you think of jiu-jitsu, typically you don't see guys that are like super muscular because you just can't oxygenate that muscle.
Exactly.
So either though, like what happens. I mean, I know a lot of people who've come into jiu-jitsu looking like that, but you look at them 2 years later, they don't look the same because their body has adapted to the work that they do.
Right.
And I think it's the same. Potentially with this CrossFit. Like I go to it and I see these people there. I don't see any guys who are like monsters. I mean, it's
Jacked
like
up,
for the most part, what's impressed me is I see these people who kind of look like normal people, but yet they're like crazy freaking strong and like they got great cardio.
Yeah.
Can their cardio apply to, like you throw them in jiu-jitsu, do you think they'd gas out right away?
I think they'd probably last longer than you would think.
Than like a runner would, per se.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Some things don't,
right.
complement
Because I think the CrossFit's more like sprint, and think about it. Think about jujitsu. You can get to a certain level where, especially with gi, you can slow things down.
Sure.
It's like just get your, handles for life. Like just like, oh my God, slow down. Like you can't do that necessarily with CrossFit. You can, but only I look at it like only to a certain extent. Where if you're given an it's supposed to be beneficial. So if you're given an objective of like time to complete stuff you're going to try to get it done. You're not going to just be like, I'm in a union. This work is supposed to take this long. It's supposed to take an hour, not 20 minutes. You're trying to get it done. So but I don't know. I think it would probably, like if they came in. I think they might gas at a certain point because they're getting choked and stuff like that too.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
because they don't have people who run. They're like, oh, I'm a runner, and they do cross country, and then they try jiu-jitsu. It's like, oh, fuck, I'm gassing.
Yeah, but there's like pushing and pulling in jiu-jitsu.
Different muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But CrossFit has pushing and pulling and strength, explosion.
Yeah, that's why I like to
running,
see how a CrossFit person would do. Well, Cisco is a CrossFit guy.
Yeah.
And he's
Cardio's
a
good.
beast, yeah. So, I guess there you go.
I think like cross country guys, that's like the endurance, they set their pace, they're just dialed in where, jiu-jitsu's pace is so, it's your sprint. Now you're long distance running. Now you're, sprinting again. And, it's those, that load that, peaks and valleys.
Awesome, man. So where can people find you?
What's that?
Where can people find you?
For CrossFit?
No, for Alliance. Where's it located?
If Alliance is located in Naperville off of 59 and Deal Road.
59 Deal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. DIEHL, right?
Right,
yeah,
right. Yeah. So, evolutionmma.com is a website for the school. And, whether you're in Naperville or Schaumburg, you should come check it out. Definitely great people. I mean, that's been one of the other things I really like here is like it's a pretty close knit group of people. People take care of each other. There's not, there's not really any, kind of personality conflicts you'd see in places, especially with when you start getting, a larger student population. I mean, it's pretty good.
It's cool. Are you on Instagram and Facebook?
I am on Facebook. Yeah, Sean Burke, Naperville, Facebook. Yeah.
Nice. And what's your handle on Facebook?
I don't know.
Sean Burke.
Yeah, Sean
that's
Burke.
it? Oh, okay.
I think that's it.
No Instagram though, huh?
No Instagram. Yeah, not yet.
Don't
I
want to
know.
get on it.
One more thing.
I know, but I've noticed I rather do the Instagram because it just seems like it's easier. Just post a photo and call it a day.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like you don't have to say anything in the photo. That's it. This is all.
Put
That's
it
all
out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, we appreciate you coming on.
Oh,
man.
thanks for
It's
having
been
me. It's
awesome.
been fun. Yeah, it's been great.
Thanks,
Thank
Sean.
you.
And I wonder if there's any old photos from back in the day with Dion that we would be in together.
Definitely. I don't know. Maybe.
Man, I gotta think back now.
Yeah, I've
It's
got a
been a
couple.
while.
I was just looking through stuff, so I've got some old.
Because we used to take like actual photographs, like with a camera.
With a camera,
you know what I mean? Then we had to go get them like developed. So
We used to have the tournaments with inter school tournaments too. There'd be a lot of people with that.
Yeah.
Like so. Yeah.
you know Marcus, right? Big Marcus.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He trains over at Compredo. He's got a thing.
Oh,
over at
really?
Compredo.
Okay. Do you remember Pat Long?
No, I don't think so.
Big black guy. Like, yeah.
He
was another guy. Like he was another guy. He like I think he's brown belt. I haven't seen him in years now.
Yeah.
But he would win. Like he just got to this point where he would Ezekiel choke people from every like guard usually. Like he'd be in their guard and he would Ezekiel choke people. There was a tournament once where he Ezekiel choked the guy and he was in bottom mount.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Bottom mount.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Yeah, he was a college football player or whatever. He's like 285, like super big dude.
That's crazy.
That was another one where the first time when he first started, he put me in guard and he squeezed his legs and I wanted to tap.
Oh shit! One of those guys.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Gangster. All right, cool.
All right,
Well,
guys. Thank you very much.
Happy New Year to everyone again.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
We'll see you guys.
Okay. Bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. For more information about Grappler Union Podcast, you could visit us at our website at grapplerunion.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Grappler Union. Please like us on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes. And all of our episodes are available on our YouTube channel. Say what?
Be sure to subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe to all that shit. You got to do another take, right?
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Biotropic Labs. Biotropic Labs is a company that makes its own natural and healthy custom formulated sports supplements. I tried them out. Paul has also tried them. We both like how we feel on them. It dramatically and positively improved our performance, allowing us to train and work out at a much higher level and with much more endurance. His products are built around a blood support and oxygen delivery. To learn more about their products, please visit them on the web at biotropiclabs.com. At checkout, use the promo code UNION10 to receive 10% off your order. Your order is also backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, zero-risk purchase. Again, that's biotropiclabs.com. Use the promo code UNION10 at checkout to receive 10% off your entire order.
This episode of the Grappler Union Podcast is brought to you by BJJTs. Go to bjjts.com, enter the promo code Grappler Union, and save 10% off all your jiu-jitsu apparel. Go to bjjts.com today.
This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Strychnine Jiu-Jitsu, makers of vintage-inspired tees, hoodies, and rash guards. Go to strychnine.co, that's STRYCH9.co, and use the promo code UNION at checkout to receive 20% off your online order.